From the book, Battle of Leyte Gulf by Edwin P. Hoyt. Quote, so there was no stopping the Navy's plan for the show operation. The plan, however, was still very much confused, and nothing showed it more clearly than the situation of Vice Admiral Kyohide Shima and his force of cruisers and destroyers. Shima's force in the middle of October consisted of 3 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 5 destroyers. In addition, there were 5 troop-carrying destroyers. Unquote. Now, by my math, this adds up to 15 ships total. Quote, the fighting ships of this group had been dispatched to mop up the remnants of the Third Fleet after the Formosa air battle, and it was Shima for whom Admiral Halsey laid a careful trap that never got sprung. Nowhere is the raggedness of the show operation indicated more clearly than the disposition of Admiral Shima and his force. It had been planned when the carriers had their aircraft that Shima would accompany the Ozawa force and add to Ozawa's striking power. It was considered until the chiefs of the combined fleet had second or third thoughts. They then decided that it might be a better idea for Shima to take part in his force and join with Admiral Kurita in his blow against the Leyte beaches. By this time, Shima's force had been placed, for orders, under the Southwest Area Fleet, commanded by Admiral Mikawa, who was not to figure in this operation at all, and had moved to Mako in the Pescadores to await further orders. Mikawa was in Manila, and his strength, what there was of it, consisted in the planes of the 2 land-based naval air forces in the Philippines. By radio, Mikawa's headquarters and the combined fleet discussed what was to be done with Shima's force, and on the afternoon of October 21st, they agreed that Shima was to take most of his ships and join Kurita in striking. He was to go through the Surigao Strait and cooperate with Kurita. Considering the fact that he was north of the Philippines and Kurita would be coming in from the south, this cooperation was not going to be easy. Since the Army might want to move some troops into Leyte after all, the destroyer transports and part of his fighting force were taken away for transport work, leaving Admiral Shima with the cruisers Ashigari and Nachi, the light cruiser Abukuma, and 4 destroyers. This was all decided late on the afternoon of October 21st, and Admiral Shima's ships weighed anchor and moved to Coron Bay on the far side of the Mindoro Strait, where they would move out. For the first time then, Admiral Shima learned what was going on, but only barely, because he had not been placed under the command of Admiral Kurita, but was to cooperate, which meant he was to act independently and hope for the best. I hope you'll, unquote, I hope you'll forgive me for some of the words got transposed in here during reading this. I know I was supposed to be quoting, but I was just reading it off the cuff. I hadn't had time to rehearse or anything. But the point is, out of the 15 ships or so that Admiral Shima had, he had 3 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 5 destroyers for a combat force of 10. And then there were 5 troop-carrying destroyers, which could still fight in a pinch, although some of their interiors had been reworked to fit troops in, and they were carrying extra small boats. So some of their guns had been replaced, moved about, what have you. But out of 15 ships, approximately half of his force was removed for troop-carrying missions around Manila, and he was left with, if we go back up here to the top of page 39, So the 5 destroyer transports and part of his fighting force was taken away for transport work, leaving Admiral Shima with the cruisers Ashigiri, Nachi, the light cruiser Abukuma, and 4 destroyers. That left him with 7 ships out of 15. The troop transport group, which was going to be running around from Manila to Leyte and back, ferrying troops, was actually larger than the cruiser force he was supposed to take south and join up with the southern group's battleships. I'm wondering how many reports Admiral Halsey was getting during his time about a 6th group of Japanese ships running around the middle of Leyte Gulf that a lot of historians completely overlooked that Mr. Hoyt seems to have picked up on. Everybody, when people talk about the Battle of Leyte Gulf, people quite often discuss the 5 groups of ships that were sent to engage the Americans. Well, there was a 6th one out there, bub. Would you mind telling me where those disappeared to?